This is the Sports Hit List by the fans for the fans.
Looking at the 16 that are left. I guess we were spot on with some of our. I mean, are your Final Four still standing? No, right? Yours got
My
yours.
Final Four and my Elite Eight are still alive.
Okay.
I'm kind of proud of myself.
Okay, I think my Final Four is still standing. I did say Michigan State. I did say Texas Tech. I had Duke, and then I think I had Tennessee, if I'm not
Wow, look
mistaken.
at us.
Previewing the Sweet 16 round, what stands out to you as far as, I mean, I guess you're going to go with your Elite Eight to stand out, right? So let me say this: which matchup stands out to you the most out of all the ones that are left?
Right off the bat, Duke and Arizona. They played earlier this year. Duke's nemesis, Caleb Love, if you remember, he eliminated Coach K on that Final Four run during Coach K's last season. He hit that big shot. He had a hell of a game. So to face him once again, which is probably the final time they're ever going to play him, that sticks out right away. Obviously, Tennessee and Kentucky, two SEC schools who have a big rivalry that stands out. And honestly, another thing that really stands out to me, and I was wrong by saying it, I thought we were going to get a lot more mid majors in the Sweet 16. There were a couple upsets here and there, but there's no real Cinderella story. The only team that advanced that was lower than a 6 seed is Arkansas, who at 10, and they're from a power conference. So that's one big thing that stands out to me.
And also because they're well coached too with John Calipari, you never know,
Right.
and having him in the tournament. So I guess if you wanted to do a quick predictions, I guess Auburn, Michigan, I think you said Auburn gets knocked out, right? Is that where Auburn gets knocked out for you?
Listen, a lot of people are high on Auburn. I don't like it, but I think they're better than Michigan. I don't think Michigan's going to fare well. Now, remember, don't believe anything I say because I'm always wrong. But in this scenario, because of the matchup, I know I'm not high on Auburn, but I do think they get it done against Michigan.
Mississippi and Michigan State.
I'm going to take the Spartans.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ole Miss. Sorry. Florida, Maryland.
That's going to be a good game. And remember, Maryland's only there because they hit a buzzer beater to knock off Colorado State. But this should be a very good game, but I'm taking the Gators.
Texas Tech, Arkansas.
I'm riding with Tech.
Clearly Duke, Zona. We know where you're going with that. That's no question there.
I pray.
BYU, Bama.
Man, let me tell you something. If you like offense, tune in for that game. It's gonna be a back and forth. But I'm gonna roll with Bama.
Houston, is it Purdue?
Yeah, I'm gonna take the Cougars.
UK, Kentucky versus Tennessee.
See, I just don't know which Kentucky team's gonna show up. So with that being said, I think I'm gonna go with the Volunteers.
And again, so I guess the must-watch game, like you said, is the Duke versus Zona, and you said Kentucky, Tennessee. Last night I was watching the Michigan State game. Man, what a game! Just being able to see what goes on in that tournament, and I was actually texting people about it. I know how crazy it is, and I said this, and you can call me crazy, right? We get diehard sports fans apparently are hate NBA discourse, right? Because of the whole Jordan, LeBron, and we complained about it. And now you're tired of it, but here we have great basketball being going around, and I'm in not just our streets, but other groups, and no one's talking about the tournament. And it's crazy to me how like these games are going on and no one wants to talk about it, but then we complain we don't like NBA discourse, but we could clearly change it. It doesn't make sense to me.
Well, I think the main issue behind that is there's no Cinderella team. So there's no like underdog to root for. You know what I mean? Like when an Oakland who, knocked off Kentucky, or a UMBC or a St. Peter's, like we said in the last show, when you have those teams, it's easy to root for the underdog. That's part of being, an American sports fan. You always root for the little guy. You always get behind them and everything. And unfortunately, we don't have that. Like I said, who are you going to really root for? BYU or Arkansas? So it's just easier to get behind a team or even a player. Remember when Steph Curry was at Davidson or Jimmer Fredette was at BYU? Mm-hmm. Like there's no player to really get behind on an underdog team. So when you don't have that, it's just the favorite. So the casuals aren't really gonna get into it because they don't really care. But
they don't care.
I mean, as a college basketball fan, I'm very excited for a Sweet 16 because there's a lot of good matchups across the board. So sometimes you got to take the good with the bad.
I hear that. So your Sweet 16 is still standing. We'll do probably another show for when we get down to the Elite Eight, and we'll see if your teams are still standing from there. But I'm excited to see how this tournament plays out. I'm excited to see who ends up in the national championship round, as we predicted before. But as we said, it's a disappointment loss for St. John's. Do you consider it a failure of a season?
I want to say yes, just because they only had four losses all year.
Yeah.
So in a way, when you have that, plus, you have a Hall of Fame head coach, like you really would think that this team could have went far. But I even said the West region of the bracket is a gauntlet, and it's going to be tough to get through it. And unfortunately, they ran into a better team. And also, and we even texted about it. When you're shooting under 30%, you're not going to win. You're not going to win many games. Yeah, and they had a lot of chances in the first half. They missed a lot of layups and everything. RJ Lewis probably had the worst game I've ever seen him have. Yeah. So when you factor all those things in, there's not much you can do. But they were in it. It was good. They won the Big East, for the first time in, however many years and whatnot. So it was successful. But like I said, when a team has Final Four aspirations and you get knocked out the first weekend, it's a little bit of a failure.
All right. Like, share, comment, subscribe to all Hit List content. We'll see you next time. Chuck, thanks for stopping by.
Anytime.
Thanks for watching the Sports Hit List. Be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. In fact, do it now.